Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of E-Coffee with Experts. I'm your host, Matt Fraser. And today on the show, I have with me James Walters. James is the president of Click and Create, a digital marketing agency located in Houston, Texas, specializing in SEO strategies, social media marketing, graphic design, and web design. James has an innate understanding of a company's target audience, which helps him successfully achieve client goals, actions, and unique messaging. He is recognized not only for creating exceptional graphic and web design, but also ensuring the correct message is targeted to the correct audience. When James isn't wearing his marketing hat, he enjoys goofing around with his two boys, drinking gourmet coffee, fantasy football, water activities, cooking, golf, sushi, and weekend getaways with his wife. James, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here. So we were talking earlier, about the future of SEO and some SEO strategies and trends for 2022 and beyond. What do you think are the top 3 SEO trends that you predict will have the biggest impact on search results in the remainder of 2022?
Yeah, so that's always a tough one. So the remainder of this year, I've said this for a long time. I really think your core values of SEO have always kind of been the same, right?
Yeah.
Creating good content.
Yeah.
Backlinks are really important because it's a really good indicator and signal to Google that, if a big, powerful site's linking to you, that means something, right? It's like a good referral.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good content, people are engaged in your content, they're sharing your content. And having backlinks, the core of SEO, I think is still super vital, right? Like those are your really important pieces. And of course, there's a million other factors, right? And so trying to determine what's the most important factor.
Yeah.
But I think if you always go back to your core principles, you're going to be okay,
Yeah.
So you said 3 factors for 2022, I think.
Well, trends, SEO trends, I guess.
Yeah.
For instance, here's a trend, artificial intelligence. People are talking about artificial intelligence for content, artificial intelligence for the algorithm. I mean, it's a trend right now. And, what do you think that's going to have the impact on SEO in the remainder of 2022 or even beyond? Like, do you think AI is going to play a more important role in not only Google's algorithm and how they rank things, but also in agencies producing content?
Yeah, I think AI is here and it's not going to go away. It's going to affect all parts of our life, not just Google search or search in general. But definitely, I mean, it's definitely going to just creep in more and more and more, right? Right now, I personally believe that the AI part isn't that big of a factor, right? Okay. But I do think that we need to keep our finger on the pulse. Like the recent, Google did a recent release, and they talked about the how search was going to change, where you could do they had some really cool things where you could combo up your criteria, like a photo with words.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So you could, one of the examples too they gave, so you could go into, say you're looking for like a nut-free dark chocolate bar, right? Or something like that. And you go to a grocery store and they've got like hundreds of chocolate bars, right? So you have to sit there and read them all. But you could literally take your phone, show it, and it would identify the ones for you. You know what I mean? So
no way.
There's a lot of really cool things coming, and they had a lot of great other. But
wow.
But when you think about it, the way you're searching is going to change.
Yeah.
But the fundamentals of search are still there, right? Like, it's just the way you're searching, right? It's just organizing data, giving the best answer back,
Absolutely. So then what do you think, for instance, it used to be all about let's go back in the day of keyword stuffing and the title tag and H1s and H2s and H3s and keyword stuffing in your paragraphs and so on and so forth. I mean, Google's evolved. It's now more about, it's all about structured data and entities and things like that. Do you think that's just in order for Google to identify those things, do you think it's going to be more and more important for, you're building great content, but also optimizing that content from a technical perspective to rank in the search results? You think that's just going to continue to grow and be of more and more?
Yeah. So you have to we just call it like basic, your foundation, your structure of your site absolutely has to be built properly because, depending on how much you know about SEO, like Google doesn't go index all your content, right? It looks at the indicators and goes, oh, okay, this piece of content's about this, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't sit there and index your entire, it just takes your keywords and, the signals that you're giving it. Yeah. So we find title tags, organizing your content, optimizing it properly. It's not rocket science, just making common sense with it. Man, it goes a long, long way.
Long way.
I mean, we've had tremendous increases in search rankings by just sitting with a client and going through their site, and optimizing their site. We're doing title tags. Title tags are really important.
They are, aren't they?
Just making sure that they're using the right keywords on the pages, really basic stuff,
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. So tell me about that though, like the structure of the site. Well, there's two things you talked about. Like Google doesn't crawl your whole site. Like it's, if you have an e-commerce website with 10,000 products, it's going to be pretty damn hard. Like I don't know how Amazon gets all their stuff indexed. It's pretty interesting. I mean, they're going after categories, not single pages, but it'd be ideal to have all those pages in the index, Google's index. But, what are ways that you've seen that have been more effective to structure websites as opposed to that have resulted in higher SEO rankings?
Well, just to make that clear, like what I'm saying is that you write all this content on the page. It's not indexing that entire piece of content, right? It's indexing the page, but it's using some signals to identify what that page is to be indexed for, right?
Absolutely.
When you have a larger site and when you sit down, it's really hard sometimes, people come to us and they might have, 60 pages of content and everything's a mess, right? And ultimately you have to it's your job as a website owner or SEO person or marketing person to paint the picture for Google so that they can, when they crawl your site, that they understand what your site's about, right? Yeah. So if it's all a mess and jumbled and there's no structure to it, it makes their job a lot harder. So our job is to go in and, you hear the word silos or...
that's what I was trying to get at. Yeah. Information architecture.
You have, in a general categories of content, right?
Yeah.
So, an example of that would be, if you have a service, right? Your main service page, like a service that you're offering. We typically we love service and professional service businesses. That's kind of our specialty versus say, like e-commerce. Say you have a service, you have a couple different services, right? Yeah. One of your service parent page, you're not going to change that content very much, right? Like that service is going to stay pretty concrete and you're not going to change that much. But then you're building, a base for it and you're going into more niche topics under that parent page and you're linking them all back and interlinking them. You're telling Google, oh, okay. And you can rank for these longer tail keyword phrases on these, child pages, linking back to the parent page.
Yeah. So site architecture then is what we're talking about. Site architecture and information architecture. I think that's going to become even more and more important as things go on. And if businesses don't have that, I just looked at a website yesterday that is a friend of mine's. I won't say it is, but their website's horrendous. It's just really bad in so many ways, in the way it's laid out and the design and look of the site and so on and so forth. So how big of do you think that's going to be a very, obviously it is very important right now, but I think it's going to become even more important in the future of SEO, understanding site architecture and information architecture to properly indicate to Google what your site is actually about.
Yeah, optimization and architecture is really important, right?
Yeah.
I still haven't seen design necessarily, like great design overtake. I've seen some really ugly sites that have great structure do really well still to this day, right? You're just blown away.
Wow. Yeah.
But and design,
you were talking about design, how there's ugly websites that are built really well that are still doing well in search. So I don't know what that says about Google.
Yeah, no, I mean, just like basic layouts versus, a lot of people, like I haven't seen necessarily like just because your design looks great. What I'm trying to get the point across is your architecture and optimization matter more, right? Having the right content. That makes a bigger impact even today. Now, I mean, obviously you have apples to apples, right? And this design's that. Going to probably win out. the point I wanted to talk about is, there's a tremendous amount of content out there. And
oh goodness.
And if you think about Google's job, and I'm using Google as generic, like Coca-Cola for soda, right?
I mean, yeah.
But you use
they own search.
Index all this content, and the content is growing at a rapid pace, right?
Oh gosh. Yeah.
So their job is to do it. They have to deliver good answers to your questions, or they lose value, right? So they have to do a good job, the best they can, to index and deliver the right search results. So if I step back and think about that, I think ultimately not just creating just content to put out there, but creating good content. And that's what I always work with my clients. We're creating content. Let's just spend the time to make it good, right? And we don't need, having a good amount of content is good on your site, but don't do it just to create content.
Yeah.
So spend the time, make it engaging. Because I think what's going to really matter, and it already does, is how long are people staying on the site? How many people are linking to your page? Staying on your page. How many people are linking to it? How many people sharing it? All that kind of stuff it matters. It's going to matter more and more as we go forward.
Absolutely. So it does, doesn't it? So this may sound like a stupid question, but what would you define as good content?
To me, good content means you are speaking to your audience. Your audience is coming to you with a question pretty much, and you are answering, right?
Yeah.
And so, the best content is you have a lot of content, you really answer the question, you do it in a visual way it's just a big old block of content, right? You mix it up with infographics or photos.
Oh, okay.
Makes sense. And it's easy to read, right? It's easy to flow.
Easy to read, flow.
But I think ultimately it's just really speaking to your audience, right? Like understanding who's going to go to that page and really answering their questions,
Yeah.
Really makes
it all comes back. Do you know what I think is going to be that you've touched on it? And I've talked to various marketing experts and agency owners. And one thing I think people are going to focus on, or have to focus on more and more in order to stay relevant, is knowing who their audience is. It's amazing how many businesses do not take the time to invest. I worked for a worldwide car dealer brand that didn't have assets for customer personas around the types of vehicles they sold, because a different type of person buys an entry-level 4-door sedan as opposed to an SUV. And I don't know, what are your thoughts? Like, for instance, I think that creating that trend, or something that's going to happen that people are going to have to start thinking about more and more to create this good content, is actually creating brand personas and customer profiles.
I think you nailed it. That's a big, that's going to be huge going forward, right? Because I think, long tail's been around for a long time, right? But more niche searches have better conversion rates. So that's one of the first things we do is we sit down with our clients. We want to create personas, right? Because you have to understand your audience. And it's amazing. Sometimes like a company that's pretty large, 10 million, 20 million, 100 million might come to us and they don't know. They want to blow over it, right? And you're like, guys, marketing 101, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because what we're doing a lot now is, we're creating content for each persona, right? So that people can navigate through the site and they're getting the content that makes sense to them, right?
Yeah. And that's how you create good content.
Like
you said, keep going. I don't want to jump you.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of an example right now. So we're working with a company that they actually do marketing, right? They're an advertising company, a really large advertising company. Yeah. And one of the things we went in and we went in and did a quick redesign to help increase optimization. Like for all they were getting a ton of traffic, but they wanted to increase their conversion rate.
Oh,
Basically, simple changes, conversion rate's gone up a lot. And now what we're doing is we're really creating great landing pages for each bucket, right? Because they target different industries.
Yeah.
And, and it's amazing that, and we're creating campaigns around each industry.
Yeah.
Right. And if you get the people there, your conversion rate is so high because you're speaking specifically to these people. We're showing examples from their industry, language for them. So they, they feel like you're talking to them, not to this broad audience, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big trend. And I think that's something people really should think about, right? Like really understanding who's coming to your site. Because, if you have a mom, depending on what you sell, right? Like if you have a stay-at-home mom with 3 kids,
yeah,
or another professional that has no kids, right? Maybe a young professional, like their interest in what they're looking for a lot of times and how they view life is completely different. So you can speak to that to them. You can answer their pain points. You can talk to their pain points, So.
Absolutely. Hey, you mentioned something earlier that I just wanted to touch on or that triggered a thought in regards to voice search. Like you were talking about being in the grocery store and taking a picture and trying to find that particular chocolate bar. What about the impact of voice search in regards to SEO? Do you have any thoughts on, what kind of impact you think it will have on SEO in the future or even in the remainder of the year?
I definitely think the way we search is going to change, right? And as far as say Google goes,
yeah,
we haven't really seen voice search have like a crazy. I don't really approach a project now knowing that voice search, because I think, in my opinion, like the words like voice in are kind of similar to the words like type in, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do think what we're going to start seeing, and you already are, is the different devices, right? So like we have Alexas, or no, was it the Amazon or the Alexa?
Yeah, Amazon, Alexa or Echo. Maybe you have an Amazon.
Yeah, Echoes and Alexas and all the different devices. Those things I think are going to start, that's a little bit different, right? I think those things are going to start having an impact where you have to be able to make sure that, because people are going to be able to order off of those, right? Like
absolutely, it's going to be amazing.
Or get search results off of that. Like, hey, Alexa, what's the best Indian restaurant or Mexican restaurant or whatever, Italian restaurant near me?
Yeah.
And so I think those are things that we really need to factor. Because if you voice that into Google, I don't think it changes much versus typing it, right? But I think it's maybe the other directories of things. I don't know, how do these things get their listings? So those are things we have to think about, right?
Yeah. I think that optimizing for search is going to become more and more important for voice search, but I think that will tie in. I mean, whether Google whether Google is producing a result that is on text on a search engine or through a voice search, I think it's just a matter of the AI just reading the voice, the text research, the text results with their voice. I think it'll be important for, I don't know, correct, you can totally disagree with me, but it'll be important for, web content creators and website owners to optimize their content even more. Like I could be full of crap, but optimizing it with entities in mind and things like that, and using structured data. Because I don't know how else Google can. I mean, maybe they got a lot of smart engineers. I don't know. What do you think? Full of crap, or would you agree?
Well, I mean, like, so say you're going to let's make sure we're talking about the same thing. If you're going to do a voice search, like and say we're on our phone. Yeah. How would your voice search differ than your typing in search?
Yeah.
True. I mean, I'm asking, like, what would be different? What do you think? Do you think there'd be any differences?
I don't know. It's interesting. Like, I have several Google Home Minis in my house.
No, I think those are going to be different. That's different. That's why I think that's a big change. But
that's what I'm talking about. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
totally.
I guess I want to define what we're talking about. I'm talking about, like voice search, like Google Home Minis and things like that. Like I ask it questions and sometimes it hits things on the head and sometimes it's like a moron. It's like, I don't know the answer to that. It's like, how could you not know the answer to that? And I think that those devices are going to start showing up. I don't know how much the market penetration is right now, but or how much the market has how many people own them to make it simple. But I just see that just exploding with like smart homes.
I'm with you.
Like having it integrated and the power of search and Google's search engine is going to go beyond just someone being on their phone or a desktop computer.
And I will say, like for us, we're more focused right now. Like I haven't studied like Alexa and understand how they're getting their search results because it's not quite as a big of a factor at the moment, but I definitely think that those are things we're going to pay attention to. Now, Google's probably using Google's results, but what's Alexa using? So those are questions I need to find out, right? I'm thinking about another thing to think about too is, have you heard a lot about Web 3.0? I mean, what they're calling Web 3.0?
Gosh darn it. I got to learn something about it. I don't even know what it is, the blockchain, all this stuff. I'm so busy with everything I'm doing that.
I know it's hard to say. I mean, you have to stay present in the moment and know what works now, but then you kind of keep it, I'm trying to keep a pulse on the future. And you're talking about Web 3.0, and I've been listening to some stuff on it. And, obviously you run more in the blockchain environments, but I think what my understanding is in Web 3.0 is, obviously from 2.0 to 3.0, the big thing is it has to make our lives easier, right? To make that jump, right? Okay. You have to, as a user, see a difference in how you use it. Everything has to become easier to really be considered 3.0. Yeah. And I think in 3.0, whenever we get there's going to be a lot more like AI and pieces that plug in. So just a quick example might be, and then how does this affect search, right? So let's say I go to FIFA, the soccer deal, right? And I buy a ticket to a soccer event, a soccer game, right? Yeah. In somewhere. Because I think a lot's going to come down to your digital wallets in the future. Because I think a lot of things are going to be digital. They'll know things about you. Yeah. But now, if I book this trip, now all of a sudden, I'm logically going to probably need a place to stay. And so do I actually have to go out and search, or is that going to be, or options automatically start being provided to me? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Simple things like that. Because right now you go out and search because Booking.com doesn't know that I have this trip. But if I have this token for this game in my digital wallet, now it can understand that, and now it can provide me the best solutions. So things like that, I think, would be interesting to keep our eye on, because now no longer am I searching in a way, right? So
the result, you don't have to search. The results are going to come to you, but they can come to you based on your actions. Like you said, that digital token of knowing that you have that because you have a digital wallet, and it's going to be even easier.
Yeah. For example, and maybe you have an American Express, right? And so certain websites, and this is probably a bad example, but just follow me. Fair enough. It understands that you use American Express, and maybe they offer a discount for a certain card. Like maybe because you're American Express holder, you get a discount, and it would already realize that and be able to recognize that and show you. Or say you own a Tesla and you have that token for that Tesla, and that unlocks certain things for you online. You know what I mean? So that you don't have to log in. It already knows that. Yeah.
It's like where we are now.
Yeah.
With people, it makes me remind you where we are now with geo-fencing and geo-targeting on mobile devices. Restaurants being able to target people. I don't think people have even adopted that enough. Or maybe privacy laws don't allow people to do it. But I'll tell you something that I did that's crazy. And sorry, I laugh because I was at a car dealership, and we targeted the other dealership on the other side of the city with an ad. Sorry. Are you sitting at this dealership? Come to our dealership and we'll give you a $500. Hey, don't like the price they gave you? Don't like the quote they gave you? Come to our dealership. We'll give you $500 off. And it worked so good that they got so pissed off. They complained to the regional manager that we had to stop. But hey, there was no rules against it. We didn't do anything wrong. We just, I being Mr. Techie, knew what to do, and I did it. So it's just what you talked about just brought that up. We knew where people were, and we knew how to present a message to them. So that'll be
in an earlier life, I actually sold cars at one point. So Toyota.
Oh yeah,
that's a grind.
It is. Yeah, I did it I worked in that industry for 7 years. 3 of them as the salesperson. But anyway, it is a grind. And I went into it so I could learn how to sell.
Yeah.
And I needed to learn how to sell.
One thing that kind of relates here.
Yeah.
What I saw and found out that you always think of car salespeople as pushy and kind of aggressive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The highest sellers at my dealership were the guys that knew the absolute most about the vehicles. People would talk to them and they could just spew out all the data and give it. And I think it made people feel really comfortable. They were the best sellers. Not the guys the guys that were aggressive, they did well, but the guys that knew the most, man, they really were the ones to reach the, so, what does that mean? It's like they're providing the information, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And information, is key even in search. So yeah, like mobile devices. I think mobile devices in the future of SEO, I don't know what role they're going to play, but you talked about digital wallets and things like that. It's going to be fascinating to see some of those other things happen. Any other? Oh gosh, yeah, watches and health. Like that'll be. I don't even know what question to ask you about that, but there's got to be some way that smartwatches are going to even. I'll be frank. I thought that smartwatches were stupid when they came out. I thought, why is Apple focusing on a watch? Like nobody wears watches.
I'm with you too.
Watches. Nobody wears watches anymore. And now I want one. I don't want an Apple Watch. I want a Pixel Watch. But anyway, that's another story. But yeah, I wonder how that's going to play out. And I guess maybe being able to search for things on your phone, or going back to that, your digital token of your wallet on your phone, and just, I use my phone tap to pay for everything now. I don't use money or even my bank cards. I tap, 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 tap. And they increased up where I'm from. The limit to tap is $200. It's like, how many things can I buy that are less than $200 that I can just use my phone for? It's just amazing. From groceries to clothes to whatever, certainly not going to buy a car with a tap, but yeah.
But I think whatever changes happen, however people search and everything, I think the fundamentals will always stay the same, because our job is to make it so that the search engines can easily identify what our stuff's about, right? Like step one is that you just have to optimize it, right? Like understand how to optimize it. It's not hard. It really is not hard.
No.
You get into some more technical things, but that's going to always be so important.
Always going to be number one. I don't think that's ever going to change. No. But what about video in regards to, because do you think that video is going to become more, look at it. Like the phone now, look at what you and I are doing with Zoom here. Video. What the phones are capable of, the types of video they're creating. Do you think that video content is going to become more, like YouTube's the second largest search engine in the world? Like, do you think video content creation is going to become more and more important, even in regards to search for companies and SEO?
Yeah, you're already seeing the impact of video. I think video is super important, not only just for like say SEO content creation, but like just for conversion. How many people land on the page and they'd rather watch a video versus read a whole bunch of content? You know what I mean?
Oh, they would much rather, wouldn't they?
Yeah, we do a ton of YouTube ads. Like YouTube ads have been, they're not really great in our opinion yet to get tons of just like instant action, but they're super affordable and such great brand awareness. It's been really good. I don't think you can deny it,
No, you took the words right out of my mouth. Like, that's one of the strategies I used at the car dealership was we created just 30-second awareness videos on YouTube. And one of my competitors said, I don't know what Matt's doing, but he's everywhere all the time. Because we were creating video ads and display ads to retarget people and various other things. But anyway, yeah, I think video is going to be really important. And displaying videos on service pages or product pages. I think that, do you think that businesses that embrace video are going to beat out, or even are now, in regards to conversions? Like it's going to be that role of a key that if people don't start creating that content now, they're going to fall behind.
I think it's definitely not a bad. Yeah, I think if a company's starting to focus on add video into their strategies, they're definitely going to have a leg up, right? Probably because they're already thinking about it and they're already in that mindset. But I definitely think that people adopting video are going to have a leg up for sure, because we already see. I mean, we already see how much impact video has. I mean, it's undeniable. You know.
Are there any examples you can give, like in general terms, without revealing a company's name or
Yeah. Okay. So just one that came up yesterday in a meeting with the clients. They recruiting, like finding people to work for you right now is kind of a big thing, right? Like I don't know where all the people are going, but like people aren't wanting to work. I don't know, but I've talked to different companies and people about it. So one of my companies, they are trying to find people, and they were they're getting people to their landing page for people to apply, but they just weren't getting, let's call it a conversion, right? They weren't getting people to sign up. Yeah. But they hired a videographer to make this video, and they did a really good job of really selling it, and hitting the key points. And their conversion rate has gone way up. But they use that video too to market it, right? Not just on that page, but it was a tool that allowed them to get, way higher percentage of conversions for recruiting. So just there alone, I mean, people, obviously were watching it and were sold,
Yeah.
Versus just a whole bunch of, they did a decent job, right? They laid out the content, they made a case for it, but it's just so different watching a video. Oh. And they had testimonials from other people and
who worked there, yeah. That's smart.
Yeah. So like it did, so that's a good example.
Yeah. I think video in regards to search, and not only in search, but creating videos. I think the cost of videos have become cheaper. And there's ways to do that. I think it's become less expensive. I hate that word cheap. I think cost of video investment is going to become less expensive for businesses. And I think that the investment in video, businesses are going to, or have to, or will realize that investing in video, not only just for search, but the entire customer journey will become more and more important in moving forward.
You said something really good there. The barrier to entry is dropping, right? Like you don't have to have a professional setup to do a decent video anymore. But what we're seeing too is, when you said in the customer journey, for a lot of our customers, depending on what you're selling, right? But a lot of the customers we work with, it's not like they see your search result and then they go buy your product, right? But it's like multiple interactions, right? Yeah. So multiple touches. And so it's that journey, right? So you have the search, and then you're hitting them with retargeting. Maybe they're seeing your video on YouTube. Like you're getting these things. So it's a good thing to think about, right? Like it's really hard now to just attribute, a one-touch marketing.
Oh gosh, it's multi-touch, isn't it? And then, oh goodness. Yeah. Well, you talk about, for instance, you just triggered something, attribution. Like how much more important is attribution going to become in regards to marketing and even SEO, search results in regards to, where someone found you on. Because I don't think search, like someone made a point a while ago that I was talking to. They said search isn't just Google, Matt. Think about people are searching on Quora. They're searching on Amazon. They're searching on Facebook. For Pete's sake, I don't even know if they're going to do it, but Apple's talking about coming out with their own search engine. And I don't even know why they did it, but Ahrefs just came out with their own search engine. Like DuckDuckGo has a search engine focused on privacy. But the point I'm trying to make is that, there's various different types of ways to search, and it's not just about Google.
Yeah. We do quite a bit on Amazon we've seen from when we started working with Amazon, it's probably been, like 8 years, 10 years. But earlier on, when you could just run campaigns and you would just, as long as you had a product some people were looking for, you could just crush it. Now it takes a lot of work, it's not easy to break in anymore on Amazon.
Wow. Amazing.
Because you have to like play the game. You've got to work on, your title tags and your reviews and this and that.
Amazing. Hey, do you think search engines like Google or Bing, will continue to dominate the market in 2025?
There was a big, right?
2030. It's 2025 too soon. 2030.
It's hard to predict, but I don't see how Google loses its hold on its
dominance.
like on the phone or on the computer, I think they'll lose some as more and more people get worried about privacy and all these different things and more competitors come up. But I still think they're going to be dominant. They'll be interested on the other factors that, these other devices that come into play, what we talked about.
Yeah.
But it was, what was it, like a couple of years ago, Google had the lawsuit against them from the government, right, to have a monopoly on search.
Yeah, which they do.
They do, but like what they were saying, like, Google paid like an astronomical amount of money to come in loaded as the search engine on computers, right?
Yeah.
Google, I can't remember if it was Apple or Microsoft that they were paying. I think it was Apple. Don't quote me on that, but they were paying this ridiculous amount of money to come loaded.
Yeah.
But
preloaded. Yeah.
Yeah, preloaded, because that makes a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
But the big question is, if they weren't preloaded, I think there were some people that some of them were preloaded that it still went back. People put Google on there. So is it like, it's hard to decide, is it their fault? Like, or are we just so used to Google? Like, why are they so dominant? You know what I mean?
They were first to market, and they created such an amazing tool and invested so much research and development into it. It's just,
well, they weren't first.
No, they weren't. They weren't, were they? They weren't. Thank you for correcting me. They weren't, because there's search engines that were before them that have gone the way of the dodo. I can't even remember the names right now. I'm thinking of like Excite or something like that, or whatever it was, or Alta Vista or whatever. I can't remember.
I think what hit for them was AdWords, where they were making a ton of money. I think they reinvested a ton and really focused on it. And now, So I think it's going to be hard to see them going away as the dominant force for at least the next 5 years. Beyond that, who knows what the future is, right?
Who knows? Yeah, who knows, eh?
But for now, we still focus Google first. You know what I mean? Like they're dominant.
Absolutely. What about link building? Like, do you think link building is still a valid tactic today and will be for the future?
It's definitely a valid tactic today. I mean, you have to have links, right? Links are so important, right? Link building is such a weird one, right? Because if you're in the SEO game and you want to succeed at SEO, I mean, it's hard to get natural, organic, good links, right?
It is, isn't it? It's
very hard. So of course, there's other sources where people have created huge networks that sell links, which you're not supposed to do, right?
Yeah. But full disclosure, Google, we don't do any of that.
I mean, it's like, and I don't like, in our business, we are very open. We share everything with our clients. We're very transparent, right?
Oh yeah, and that's good.
Like, we will present the opportunities. Like, you can do this, right? Technically, you're not supposed to, but it's up to you. Like, because getting natural links is really hard and takes a long time, right? And there's some that are more shady than others. I mean, like there's, I'm not a component of doing anything illegal or shady.
No, neither am I.
Google has created a game, and you've got to play the game, right? If you got to play the game. So it's a tough question, right? It's a very tough environment. You have to have links. Links matter, right? The right links matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, that's what's made Google, that's how started their whole way of identifying if something was of value to the market or not. The more votes in regards to links it had, the more popular it could have been or may have been. And, people gamed that, and Google's learned over what those gaming tricks are, like over optimization and so on and so forth, which we don't need to get into because our audience understand what I'm talking about. But, I just don't see how that's going to change. Like, what other, there's like, it still has to remain a factor in regards to if something's popular or not, or relevant or not.
Yeah, it's probably one Google spends a lot of time thinking about, right? Because there are, say, like I talked about, there's networks out there like literally built up to supply links. And you wonder at some point if Google will identify these, and all of a sudden those will kind of get flagged.
Black,
you know what I mean? Like, because that they have to be thinking about that. So my advice is always, if you follow the sound rules, right, and just do good organic SEO, even though it takes longer and it's harder, it's not going to go away, because we've seen periods of time. For example, like at one point in time early on, the more links you had, the better. Well, man, everybody was getting the spammiest links, like linking from this, that. And then all of a sudden Google penalized some of that stuff. And all of a sudden people fell down the rank. I mean, and there's been numerous accounts of things like that. So
absolutely.
Will that come back to bite you? Probably so. If you're not getting true good word links, it's probably going to bite you some point in the future, you know?
Yeah. Totally agree with you. Hey, James, is there anything else? Is there one big takeaway you'd like people to take away from this episode?
I talked about this, like just in marketing, like we're a marketing company. We love SEO. I typically like to go to search first because I still feel like there's nothing out there like it. Like when you can tell where a customer is in the sales funnel by the keywords they use, right? Yeah. And you can identify people based on what they're searching, right? So like there's just nothing as powerful as that. So search is super powerful, but we love just marketing in general. Just we're doing a lot of search intent display. We do retargeting, connected TV, streaming audio. You got YouTube. Love sales funnels and automation. I mean, there's just so much you can do. But what I always tell people is, people think marketing is something you go out and do, and it turns on, and just right from the get go, it's just we should have amazing results. But really, you have a smart team working with you, and you're trying things and you're analyzing that data properly and you're continuing to work on it, you will succeed, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But you just have to put in the time and effort.
You have to put in I agree with you.
So that's why it's just like a click on.
We just pull a lever. Yeah. I had that challenge at the car dealership when I was the marketing director. They thought that I should just be able to pull a lever and the leads would come on, even sending traffic to empty pages with no pictures and no video and no video pictures of the cars and no descriptions of the cars and no videos for the cars. And it was when we started doing those things that the leads started to convert. But they thought that I should, it takes time and investment of time and expertise, like you're saying, to eventually get there. And one of the things you've touched on in this is, developing the customer persona so that what your customers are searching for to be able to, target them with the right answers and solutions to their problems. So, so thankful.
I think if we take anything away from this, it's really, you're right. You nailed it. Just identifying the personas first, really speaking to your audience, right? Yeah. Knowing their pain points, addressing those. Marketing 101 has never changed. It's just some of the ways I don't think it will either, No. So,
even though technology changes and all these other things are going to change, that's never going to change. It's like the foundation, the gospel, if you will, of marketing. Hey, James, how can our audience connect with you online if they want to?
Ultimately, I would just say, hit me up on our website, clickandcreate.us.
Clickandcreate.us.
Probably the best way. I mean, I'm on Facebook and we've got
LinkedIn.
I'm on LinkedIn as well. I'll be honest, like this is crazy, but I work so many hours at the office that when I leave the office, I disconnect, right? Like I spend time with my family and a lot of things you talked about. So I'm not as active on social as probably a lot of people are just because I'm so engaged here. I'm on technology all day long. So ultimately, is what it is.
I hear you. I uninstalled all the social media apps from my phone. I'm too busy. So I hear.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a big distraction, right? Like, I mean, I get on sometimes and I partake, but like, I don't do it every day, all the day long. I see so many people getting sucked in, and as long as you can handle it, right? Right now, my kids, I have two boys, 13 and 12, and they're getting into that world. It's like, here we go,
Yeah. Well, I think it's in moderation. If you limit yourself, like they say, just 30 minutes a day, if that. I just have, I work. I don't know about you. I work in 25-minute increments or 50-minute increments. So I take a 10-minute break if I work for 50 minutes. And if I go for 10 minutes and go on Facebook, well, then fine. It's just 10 minutes that I just need to take a break and maybe wish somebody happy birthday or whatever the case may be. But I certainly am not going to spend 2 hours scrolling the news feed. I got way more productive things to do than that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
You need your 10-minute break. I don't want to take away from your 10 minutes.
No, it's all good. Hey, I want to thank you for being and agreeing to come on the show. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, you have a great day.